Good morning, and like that, I'd like to welcome you to the BlackUSA.News morning show. My name's Donnie Glover, and we have with us tonight a friend of a friend. Last night, Party Marty. I'm Party Marty. Let's talk. Broadcast every Tuesday night, 7 p.m. And one of Party Marty's guests last night was this young lady right here, whom I find out is an entrepreneur, and she. What you got? Two cities: Jacksonville, North Carolina, and Baltimore.
Yeah, yeah, pretty much, yes.
And what's the name of your company?
um, I run a marketing company for promotional items, personal items, and graphic design. It's called My UB Creations.
My UB Creations.
Correct.
What made you start a company?
Well, actually, it was the pandemic that led me to this particular venture. Growing up, I've always had entrepreneurs in my family all around. I've always been motivated to work for myself. But when the pandemic hit, everyone was kind of out of work. And then I got a Mother's Day present that um, caused me to start being creative. And so from there, I started doing t shirts and um, anything that you can think of that you could print. I just started doing it. And as my client base grew, people were asking me to do things that I never did before. And so it kind of pushed me a little further. Um, I've always been a resourceful person. So when the different stimulus bills was coming out, I would look at them, go through them, and see what was there for me. And so that kind of just is the way I started this particular venture with my UB Creations.
So had you been in business before?
I would have to say that I've been in business since I was 5. My grandmother started me and my brother and my sister off giving us little trinkets and selling them door to door. So I'm no stranger to business. But just this particular venture, I'm just starting.
Or how was the experience with grandma? Because I had one of my grandmas, she was an entrepreneur. She sold Avon, uh, what's that other stuff? Stanley product.
Okay.
You remember that stuff?
I don't remember Stanley. I remember hearing the name, but not particularly.
What
So,
about Avon?
oh, absolutely. Who doesn't know about Avon?
Yeah, the Avon bubble bath. I think that's what I probably
And the
enjoyed.
skin so soft to keep the mosquitoes away.
Yes, yes, yes. I
Yeah.
remember that stuff. My
Hmm.
mother swore by it.
Absolutely.
Skin so soft. It smelled good too.
Kind of, sort of. Yeah.
Or different than you would expect. Okay, so you come from a family of entrepreneurs.
Absolutely. Um, so Party Marty is actually my uncle. And then on my mother's side, my great grandmother had restaurants. My mother owned a florist, and she also did cake designing. It's just all in my bloodline.
So now that you keep this going, or do you have to go back to work soon, or
No, this is my full time thing. So before the pandemic, I have a company called Nicole, and I do public speaking and training on the topic of human trafficking. Because of the pandemic, we didn't have any, uh, there weren't any conferences or in person things. So that kind of just dwindled my business down significantly. So I will eventually pick that back up. But I am doing my UB Creations full time.
wow? So is it scary
Um,
or is it exciting?
it's exciting. It's exhilarating, if I could say that.
Yes, you can. Why?
Because I am in charge of my destiny. Um, it's challenging, but it's rewarding at the same time. I know that I have to put the energy into it to reap the reward. And then I love the flexibility of being able to travel and work on my own accord. So, like now, I'm not in Baltimore, but I'm still able to work and I'm still able to help people. So I love that.
So you would agree that this is a new economy, the addition of the virtual economy as a result of COVID. I mean, we're doing a show virtually.
Right.
Uh, Everything is virtual,
It is.
the new
It,
normal.
it's the new norm. And I would say to other business owners, you have to go with the flow. You can't get stuck in, the same brick and mortar mindset, but always remain teachable, and that'll guarantee your success.
I saw a Facebook post to that exact effect not long ago. Stay teachable, remain teachable.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're going to teach us something today.
I'm going to give you information. I'm going to
You,
lead you to the water, but I can't make you drink. So I'm going to give you information, and information is power.
so last night you opened some eyes.
Hmm.
You opened some eyes to the payroll protection program and also to EIDL. Let's start with the PPP.
Okay.
What is the PPP?
So PPP is the protection program, the payroll protection program, and it's administered through the SBA, the Small Business Administration. There have been allocation of funds for the PPP program since the first COVID bill. Now, in the first COVID bill, they didn't have a lot of guidance around the program. So what you saw was a lot of companies that make millions um,
Rich white
benefit
guys.
from, right, absolutely, benefit from the program. And even the second time, it wasn't, it was kind of a continuation from the first. And there were reports of minority businesses being shunned away or disapproved. Um,
Yeah,
and
black people ain't getting no money. That was the word on the street.
they wasn't getting anything. And so with this new, the third bill that President Biden put in effect, he critiqued it to make sure that minorities benefited from it. And he wanted to specifically target a certain group. And so what he did, he took away the credit check. A lot of people, we're in a pandemic, people's credit is going to fluctuate. So he took away that aspect. And then one of the other crucial things that he did do, before it went off of your net um, receipts as a business owner. And so what he did, he changed it to the gross receipts. So you would actually obtain more funding because they're going off of that gross instead of the net. So
Why,
that
why was that important? Why is this so important?
it's so important because one of the reasons why we weren't getting funded as a community is, a lot of the credit checks. And with this new formula that they're doing with your gross receipts is always going to be more than your net. So, you say you go to work and you make $300, that's $300, but you're not going to see that $300. What you're going to see after Uncle Sam gets his, that you're walking home with $238. So, with the gross receipts being the major component in factoring how much your forgivable loan will be for, that's priceless because that's putting more money in your pocket, and it's causing your funding to be greater.
Now, last night you said something very important. You said that people have to read.
Absolutely.
You said
Social
that people have. I'm sorry, and I mean, so much goes with that people have to read. Come on.
Absolutely. So, as a community, as working class people, you're looking for your stimulus check, right? So everybody's worrying about this $1,400. Where are my $1,400? Where is it at? And that's important because that's a right now thing. But the stimulus bill has so many hidden uh, things in there that will benefit an individual or entrepreneur. And I just like to dig into stuff. So I just dived into it. I want to know everything that's going to benefit me as an entrepreneur and others. And so some of the things that I've learned, and hopefully we'll have time to go over all of these things. But the number one thing was the PPP. There is EIDL grant. We also have um, a supplemental grant of $5,000 that was in the bill, in this third bill that Biden put forth. Also, something that people don't really know about is inmates. If you have a loved one incarcerated, they are eligible for an $1,800 stimulus that can help them out where they
Hold up,
are.
hold up, hold up, hold up, hold up. Let me take this off the screen because you talking about Baltimore in the state of Maryland where black people get locked up like Trumpsters invade the Capitol, like there's no end in sight. Help
Right.
me out with that again. For our brothers and sisters who are locked up, there's what?
There is a stimulus. So they get the $1,200 that we initially got with the first bill, and then they also get the $600 that we got with that second smaller bill. And so I've been seeing inmates getting this money deposited. If they had an account outside, it can be deposited that way, or it even going to the correctional facility that they're at. Um, and it's amazing. It's so simple. Like all you literally have to do as a loved one is go on to H&R Block or TurboTax. They have free editions, and you do a tax return for a non-filer.
Now,
It
Nikki, what about people who hear this and who go and file for somebody and don't give them their money? I guess that's a
well,
federal crime.
it's a federal crime, and that inmate would have, uh, they will be able to, make a complaint against that. Um, but you do have to have specific information, the DOC number and different ID numbers. So while you may have some fraudulent things, I know a lot of people that really want to see their loved ones do better.
Now, look, your Uncle Party just put up this thing. Homeless people getting checks too.
Yeah, yeah. The whole thing of it is why so many people weren't receiving stimulus is because they didn't know, like, say, a homeless person, they don't necessarily have a permanent address, but all they have to do is file or have someone file a non filer's um, income tax return.
Nikki, I'm getting ready to tell you something to blow your mind.
What?
One of my college roommate is out in Portland,
Hmm.
and he said that people in Portland who were locked up are getting COVID checks.
Really? Okay. Well, that's awesome.
Portland, I don't know what you know about Portland, but it's almost the go-to destination for the homeless on the West Coast.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Portland has homelessness like Baltimore has never seen.
Wow.
It's a 92% white city. You have never seen so many homeless people in your life. I live in Sandtown. We got a lot of white homeless people come through here.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't even scratch the surface of what's happening in Portland. And so as a result, there are a lot of resources out there for homeless people. And I just got word that a young lady in prison is about to get, might be 10,000,
Wow.
because she was subjected to a prison situation with COVID.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah,
And
inmates are getting checks.
right, that totally makes sense. I would love to dig into that. Like, I really would.
Okay, well, they do it for Portland. I told you it's 92% white. Now, what will they do for Central Booking, which is 92% black?
Right.
Will the same thing happen here in Maryland?
Well, it depends on if the law in place that allowed her to get that $10,000, if it's local or it's federal. That's going to make all the difference in the world.
Okay,
Because
I'm getting ready to do something unorthodox. CC, I'm going to need you to tune in. Come on in on the show, on the panel, because you and Marty writing books. And I'm going to put this up. But come on, CC. You got the link. Come on, CC. But this is what your auntie said. Yeah. And when you consider how much money, do you know the hustle on phone calls in prison?
oh, I do. I did on phone calls on commissary. It's absolutely outrageous.
Because they have a captured audience
Hmm.
and they milk it. They milk it dry.
Absolutely.
In other countries, on the same note, inmates can vote.
Wow.
Did you know? And I shared this last night, totally off topic, but Marty was hinting around it. Did you know that this country has only 5% of the world's population, but 25% of the world's inmates?
Absolutely. I did know that.
34% are black men,
Mm-hmm.
although black people only make up 13% of America's population.
Right.
Black man, woman, child, we make up 13%, but black men alone make up a third of the prisons.
Mm-hmm.
So this, it does us no good to put ourselves in harm's way.
Right.
We don't serve ourselves well thinking we're going to get rich slinging a package. At the same time, it's a setup. It's a trap.
It is. It's institutional. It's methodical. It's planned out. Yeah. Um,
Mm.
One thing that I wanted to throw out there when you were talking about homeless. So in the stimulus bill, there is a portion that allocates money for housing and utilities. So an individual, to stop from being homeless or to prevent them from being homeless, there is a grant for up to 15 months for rent and utilities.
So let me ask this. Shouldn't my accountant know this? Shouldn't my accountant be telling me this?
Not necessarily. Your accountant
Well,
will.
who should be telling me this? Why? How should I know this? Read it, huh?
Yeah, you got to investigate it. You got to want to know what's beyond the $1,400. I like that. Know what's beyond the $1,400. You
You
have to.
coming up with taglines right here on the show.
You know it.
So let's go back to the EIDL.
Okay.
Last night you talked about the EIDL.
Yeah.
We talked about the Paycheck Protection Program. Now the
Right.
EIDL, this can be used for working capital and normal operating expenses. What's that, Nikki?
Working capital. Okay, so you need money to buy stuff for your business so you can stay productive. Um, Supplies and so forth. So there are two type of EIDL programs. You have the loans, and then you have the grants, or the grants are also classified as advances. So that's the thing that we want. We really don't want to have to pay back any money. We want what's given, right? And so with the EIDL loans, you can get more, get a larger amount, but with the advances, it's strictly like $10,000. They've changed the qualifications. It was like 300 um, employees or less. It's been changed to 10 employees or less. So you see where the Congress
So
wrote
that,
it.
that cuts out all of the corporations. That helps
Absolutely.
because we are mostly
Absolutely.
black businesses are typically sole proprietorships, one person running it.
Exactly. Exactly.
Us.
And so they put this in this bill, and that's why the president and the vice president actually went and did tours in these different cities to let people know, hey, you need to know what's inside this bill. And so that $10,000, you can apply for it. So the way that it's working now, when it first came out, some businesses like sole proprietors only got like $1,000. And so what they would do with that, they would you apply again, you would receive an invitation to apply again. So you would apply again, and they would give you that $9,000 that you didn't get the first time. Now they're going to reopen the grant, but it's going to be closer to the end of April, beginning of May, and that is for the people that have never applied for the grant.
Is this your information right here?
Yes, that is my information.
And
Yes.
people can contact you. Are you going to charge them for helping them?
Well, what I typically do is I
The
give
answer
people
is hell yeah.
I give people the information. I give them links. Like prior to the show, I put links to a lender for the PPP program on my uh, social media platforms, so you could click on that link and do it yourself. But if you wanting my assistance, absolutely, there would be a fee.
Okay, we've been joined by CC, and that means I can go refill my coffee because she run a show all by herself. Welcome.
See?
I, a show that I know. I'm sitting in the background listening, trying to learn this information, just like everybody else. So where would they go to? They would go to. Where would somebody go to actually, if they wanted to read and to actually find out this information on their own?
You can go. You can go to the SBA, the Small Business Administration, on their page. They have um, a portion of it that says, um, I think it's like coronavirus relief or something of that nature, but it will have all the programs listed that you can apply for. And if you click on the link, you can read all the information about that particular program and also to see if you qualify.
Okay, because I was listening and I thought that it was very interesting what you had to say about the piece about the inmates.
Okay,
I'm
so
sure I'm
yeah,
sure a lot of people don't know that because that's
they
the
don't
first
know.
time I heard that.
They don't know. So for that information, it's not going to be on the SBA. That what's on the SBA is strictly for businesses.
Okay.
But if you want to find out about the inmate information, you can go on YouTube and pull up some information about it. I can also put a link in my social media about how you would go about doing it. And then once again, I'm always available, for questions if you want to email me. I'd be more than happy to lead you in the right direction.
Because it's always so interesting to me, like the lack of information that's provided to Black and impoverished communities.
Right.
Because that piece of information right there, I think should have been something that should have been front and center. So many people would have benefited from that,
Absolutely.
because people think that when people are incarcerated that the state takes care of them. it's pressure and it's a burden on the family as well.
It
You
is.
know, to make sure that they have clothes and they have something to pass the time away, want a TV or whatever, and just, you know, in general, just to send money for their well-being. They still your loved ones, you know, they're still a part of the family, you
Right.
know. So and the money that you send from that to them is money that takes away from the family.
It
You
does.
know, so that would be a tremendous burden lifted off so many people that they would essentially like have their own money to take care of their needs for at least some period of time.
Right, right, absolutely. I've seen inmates that allocated that money, like if they have children, they want to do something special for their children or their birthday or on a holiday, they would have the freedom of doing that. So it not only, helps them with the basic necessities, but it also helps them to have a sense of purpose in that they are providing some type of assistance or help for their loved ones, um, and then it just gives them a boost of hope that
Right.
they're even getting this because they're behind bars and they're very limited to what they can do and what they experience, and that usually only happens through their families. Also, an inmate could work a job in the prison and not make $1,800 a year. I mean, 18, yeah, 18.
Absolutely. Not at 25 cents an hour.
Exactly. So it's a win-win, and this is something that I wanted to share because it's so important, and no one else is doing it. So I'm like, okay, well, you know,
And
I,
just like you said, it's important for us to think beyond the $1,400. I mean, don't get me wrong, the $1,400 was nice. You
hmm
know, everybody like a little free money, but at the
right.
same time, we have to realize that there are bigger things in play. You know what I'm saying? We got to learn to think bigger.
The whole thing of it is, um, you know how you see the glitz and the glamour of gold and diamonds. It's beautiful and it's shiny, and it's good to have. But what's behind that? And what's behind that in these stimulus bills are tools to gain wealth. It's all about gaining wealth. And most of our businesses in the Black community, because they're hustles, because we have to work so hard, we have to grind so hard, we have to look for this capital to buy our products in bulk and be able to have everything on hand that we need. And we haven't had that in the past, but with these bills and what's available, we can have that capital to do what we need to do.
So
Right.
let me just interject here. CC, Nicole, this is Janet. And Janet has been serving people for a long time.
Good
And she
morning,
represents
Janet.
Good
Good morning,
morning.
ladies. Good morning.
the Latino community. So watch this. Janet, how many people do you feed every day, every week?
Ooh, well, we're serving, wow, over 500 families a week.
Wow.
Now,
Now, where are you? In Florida?
when everything started, COVID started, we were serving 350 a day for 6 days.
Mm,
Wow.
Where?
that's
Adonde.
On the east side, by the Bayview area, we have a lot of senior citizens, and we have a big group of people who are in need.
yeah. Wow.
So, Janet, I brought you on here to give you a pop quiz. You ready?
I'm ready.
Okay. Do you know about the stimulus money for inmates?
If I know about the stimulus money for who?
People
Eh,
locked up, inmates.
Oh, for the inmates. Well, no idea.
And did you know that there is EIDL money available for businesses?
Yes, I heard about those, but I'm sure the
So,
Latino community, do not know about these things. Just few of them.
So this is what I need you to do, Janet. Nicole, I'm going to ask Nicole to share a recap of this EIDL and the PPP money, and maybe you can share it in Spanish for those listening. So Nicole, what again is the PPP? Why is that important? What do we want people to know?
The PPP is important because it's the payroll protection program through the Small Business Administration. And they have made it, they've lessened the qualifications and made it more obtainable to minorities. So you can get with the PPP loan up to like $22,000 per draw, and so that would be a draw one. So your first one, and then your second one would be the same amount. Now, the amount that you get is based on your gross receipts from your business, which is phenomenal because it's not going by your net, which they did in the past when it first came out. So the thing from start to finish, if you're doing it as a sole proprietor and you don't have employees, there's a fast lane application that takes 5 minutes. I've put that link on my social media. You do your application, and it typically takes about 15 days from the day you apply to the day that you're funded. And it's a very simple, easy process. You do your application online in a day or two, maybe three. They'll send you a DocuSign to sign your application, and then they're sending it to the SBA. The SBA is approving it. They're matching you with a funding bank, and then that bank is going to send you a promissory note where you would sign it. And so after the promissory note, you usually receive your funds in your account between, I would say, 2 to 5 days. And the criteria is not as stringent. So what you would need as a sole proprietor, you would have to have a bank account either in your name if you're doing business as yourself, or if you have a business name, it would have to have the name of the business on the account. You would also,
And let me just say, Nikki, that hemmed up a lot of people. A lot of people are in business, but for a number of reasons, for any number of reasons, they don't have a business bank account. Maybe the Internal Revenue hemmed them up. Maybe they're dealing with prepaid cards. I don't know, but that has been a big challenge. And so COVID has made a lot of us take a business medical exam, a physical, to check us to see how healthy our businesses are.
Right, absolutely. But the thing of it is, you as a sole proprietor, you just need an account with your name on it. And when you fill out your application, you're doing business as Nicole Lee. So that kind of, I mean, it doesn't help if someone can't get a bank account. They were accepting payments to go through like chime cards and things of that nature, but they're no longer doing that. And it's pretty much because people have taken advantage, falsifying documentation, doing all kinds of stuff. You know how it
I
is.
was going to say, I can imagine that would open things up to a lot of fraudulent activity.
And it has.
There's also a place for them called federal prison. So,
Exactly.
Janet, did you know that? I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, Cece, go ahead.
Oh, darn. I wasn't going to say anything that was important that time. It was just, some of my foolishness.
Well, Janet, did you know homeless people can get a check?
As 2 weeks ago when we went to feed the homeless, we were wondering and we asked each other, we were talking about it, but no idea they could get their checks.
They absolutely
So
can
why?
get that.
That's good
Go
to
ahead,
know.
Nicole.
What you would need to do, they would need to have someone, or if they have access to a computer, um, maybe at a shelter. um, it would even be great if it could be established that a recreation center or something would help them, where they could go into TurboTax or go into H&R Block and do a free return, and it's a non-filer's return. So you
Oh,
basically, this is for people that don't usually do tax returns, because they don't have the income, but it would just go through one of those platforms, and that money could be sent directly. If they had a prepaid card, um, they will be able to do it. But also, if they had maybe like, I would really say a prepaid card would be best. Something with a routing number and an account number, and they could put that in so that they wouldn't have to worry about a check being mailed or anything like that, and they would have access to their funds once it was processed through the IRS.
And watch this,
very.
CC. So Janet is on here, CC, because she does a lot of work in our community. You help Black people, Janet? Janet. She frees up.
Yes.
Do you
No, I mean, we didn't hear you.
You got a little
do you
lag
help
going,
Black
Donnie.
people? Huh? Janet, do you help Black people?
Cha, those are my right hand. Yes, yes.
CC, she help everybody.
They're
When
the
she
one who
when she go to
support
feed. Okay, so now tell about the EIDL. We didn't tell about that, Nikki.
Okay, so the EIDL, it can either be a loan or it can be a grant. Right now, they're only taking applications for loans. They'll open up the portal for grants, or you may hear the terminology advances, which is also a grant. Um, it should be open by the end of this month, the beginning of May or beginning of May. And what that does is, for businesses with 10 or less employees, they are able to apply for this grant. That's one of the criteria. Another one of the criteria, Donnie, that I didn't share, you have to be in a low income area. Your business has to be in a low income area in order to qualify for this grant. So the grant will be $10,000. And something that was put into this third stimulus bill. Every time I keep reading, different parts of the stimulus bill, the third one, I'm like, oh my goodness, they thought about this and they thought about that. It's well rounded. So there's going to be a supplemental EIDL advance for $5,000, and that portal will open up around the same time. So you're looking at potentially $15,000 that you can use as working capital. You can use to sustain yourself for your business. It's just wonderful. One of the things I want to make sure I make clear, another criteria is that you would have to show 30% loss for the $10,000. And then you would have to show 50% loss with the $5,000, which really should not be that hard. When I did mine, I'm looking like, okay, yeah, I lost this. And if we look closely, we can see, and sometimes you don't have to look that close to see what COVID has done to your business, financially speaking.
And that was going to be a question that I was going to ask you, is about the paperwork. Excuse me, about the paperwork requirements. Like, was it a lot of paperwork? Did it require a lot of documentation? because some people, not me, but some people get very intimidated by things that they feel like they have to go through a lot of red tape
Oh, yeah.
for.
Yeah. So with the PPP program, the documentation you're going to need is an ID, and you're going to need a Schedule C. And the schedule is called 1040C,
Mm,
and that's something that you would be in your tax return.
okay.
You need that for the PPP. Now, with this EIDL loan, you fill out the application. It's fairly simple. You may have to do a little bit more, but if you go off your tax return and you see what your gross was, you can kind of know what it was for every month. And so until it totals up to that, the amount that's on your tax return. So what you have to type that in. There isn't a whole bunch of other information, but once your application is processed or is in the phase of processing, when they get to the point further in the application, they will send you a document to sign saying that they have permission to look at your tax transcripts just to make sure the information matches up. And then
Hmm.
at that point, you know that you're approved if you went by your tax return.
Okay.
So Janet, any questions, preguntas?
Yes, I like to know if it's possible to get together and bring few. I know because of COVID, we have a lot of you know, rules, but do you think it's possible to get few of the Latino business owner together and I could come over to translate and we could pass this information to them? Because a lot of people, they don't have an idea, and the people who knows about it, they keep their information to themselves and they don't share the information. That's one of the problems that we have in the Latino community. Like if I know about something, I'm gonna tell the whole city about it. I don't care if it's Latino, white, black, whoever. Everybody's going to know about this good news. But I mean, we also understand that we have selfish people. They just want to keep information to themselves because they don't want other people to, get ahead like
Right,
them.
absolutely. And Janet, I would be more than happy to, come to a space where I could explain things and try and get, people the help that they need. I could definitely do that. And the thing of it is, we need to do that sooner rather than later because the
Yeah,
PPP program has been extended until May the 31st. However, it's going according to funding, if the funding is still there. So the funding could run out before May the 31st. So we want to
exactly.
get as many applications in as we can. My information is on the screen. You can email me. You can,
See if I
contact me that way. You can contact through social media. Um, I actually think I'm friends with you on Facebook because I actually remember like 5 or 6 years ago, my daughter and I went down to help feed the homeless. It was like on somewhere down near Lombard Street. So I remember you from that. You probably don't remember me, and that's perfectly fine. But
Well, your face looks familiar. Will you guys bring blankets and you were
yes,
giving blankets away? Yeah, I
yeah,
remember you. Yes, yes. I still have the
Small
pictures.
world, CC.
yeah. No, I
Yes,
have the pictures too. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And just to piggyback off of that, since we were, speaking about the what can be done for the homeless community. Once you guys talk and we come up with whatever the game plan is going to be, we need to challenge some of these black business owners that we know. If Nikki said that they can use a prepaid card as their bank account to get those funds to go to, then let's donate some of those cards. And I'm going to be the first one to donate, and I'm going to reach out to some of my friends and tell them if we can all do 5 cards for 5 homeless people, let's start somewhere.
Exactly.
CC, you mean helping them apply?
Yes, to help them apply and to make sure that they have a place where the funds can go to. A lot of people, the challenge there may be that they don't have bank accounts. So after we get them in a position and help them to apply and everything, then they need somewhere for the money to go. So if we could donate those cards, they only cost about $20 a piece. Let's get in there and do that. We can all do that.
Absolutely.
So, CC, how you like being the co-host of the morning show?
Don't start with me, Donnie Glover. Don't you do it.
Okay. So, Nicole, anything else you want to add?
Yeah, so also on my page there is a program in Baltimore that is helping people that have home-based businesses, and it's actually a class that goes for 8 weeks. You do have to apply for it and be selected for it, but after the 8 weeks of participation and completing the course, they actually give you startup money. They give you capital between $5,000 and $10,000 towards your business. So that link is also on my social media, at my UB Creations on Facebook and Instagram. So that's another tool that we have. And then also, I'm just going over this with the PPP. I know that it says loan, but it's a forgivable loan. And as if you're a sole proprietor, if you're going under that, there's really nothing that you have to do because, of course, the money went into your bank account. So you don't have to really show what you spent it on. And so that loan is completely forgivable. Um, and then about the housing and the utility grant, up to 15 months. And Janet, if you want to know about that some more, we can offline talk about that and how it can help the people that you serve.
Oh, my bad. Hold up. There you go.
How soon can we
Janet,
meet? Yes, can you hear me?
I
So
will
How
send
soon
her
can
your number immediately following the show.
yeah,
443
I was
990?
he's like, let's meet now.
I'm not
Now,
ready.
if I didn't know better, I would say she didn't think you was going to do it, Donnie.
number again.
443-990-6048. I'm ready for Monday if you're willing to meet.
I will be back in town by Monday. We can meet.
Okay, great. Me too. That's great. Yes,
Hold on, let me make sure I got it right. Is that right?
that is correct. Perfecto.
So we've done something good today, CC.
That's right. Mission accomplished. We got to start somewhere. So we're going to start right
CC,
there.
tell them about your show every Tuesday night.
Every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. is called I'm Party Marty, Let's Talk. And it's just a show that we get on. We do a lot of current events and let people give their perspective on whatever their burning desire is that they want to share with everybody. And then we talk about it. A lot of different people from a lot of different backgrounds and different walks of life. So, we all give a unique perspective on the topics that we bring up. So it's a really fun show.
I love you have prayers on there. Last night, one of the things that touched my heart was the conversation around DMX. He's my favorite rapper, and his music did a lot of healing for me.
Mm-hmm.
And so for you guys
Absolutely.
to speak about addiction and the disease, as well as overcoming it, it warmed my soul, and I pray it warmed a lot of other people out there also. What did you think of the show, Nikki?
I absolutely loved it. In the midst of some heavy conversations like DMX, we had the comedy to come through. We had, that breath of fresh air. I love, listening to different people's perspectives on certain things. And it was just a great experience. I really enjoyed it a lot.
And something else that CC and Marty talk about a lot, so important. We always talk about our physical health. A lot of people post in our group on your spiritual health.
Mm-hmm.
But what about our mental health?
Exactly.
Absolutely. And because we're both retired mental health workers, when you work in the mental health field, unfortunately, where some people never want to see mental illness, you see mental illness around every corner.
Right.
So, it's something that we know is very prevalent, and we know that it's something that Black and brown communities, it's been taboo in Black and brown communities for a very long time. And we're just getting to the point where we can have the conversation. So it's always important to us to touch on it, even if we don't dive deep into it, to always touch on it,
And then
because go ahead.
statistically speaking, during the pandemic, our children are suffering at a great rate of depression and suicide. And, it's been hard for the adults, but it's also been hard for the children to hunker down for a year plus. And so we need to look at our children. We need to pay attention to our children. We need to realize the mental strain that this pandemic has had on us and our children.
Absolutely, because a lot of people don't even really know where to begin to have conversations like these with small children, and they don't know what this looks like to see a 6-year-old depressed.
Right.
So we have to really do some digging and some looking in some ways that we haven't had to do in the past.
Mhm.
Because depression is real. And this social isolation, kids not being in school, I think that it's really that had a bigger impact than I think any of us even realized. So we have to teach our children that it's okay to have these conversations, and keep that door open, that they feel comfortable to have an adult to talk to, even if it's not you, when they have these feelings like feeling suicidal and all of this kind of stuff. Because statistically speaking, people that really have an intention of committing suicide, they don't make announcements. You
That's
know
right.
what I'm saying? People that make announcements are usually people who are crying out for attention. But when people have a plan and they really plan on committing suicide, they don't tell anybody. So
CC,
we
you
have
saw
to keep
you
our
saw
eyes
that
open.
before? You
Excuse
seen that
me?
before? You
I
seen
certainly
suicide?
have. I certainly have. Most of the people, we working in the mental health field, we deal with a lot of patients that have suicidal ideation.
Mhm.
But those patients that make serious attempts on their life, they're usually the ones that are happy and overly happy, and you got to notice that change in behavior. People always think that people that commit suicide are people that are depressed and moping around, and that's just not the case.
When that
Those
young man recently got shot trying to run up in the Capitol, that could have been some depression because he
Yeah.
playing that.
Yeah.
Right. And I mean, and it's so many things that, we have to, in the day and time that we live in, we just have to educate ourselves on a lot of these mental issues. Because, schizophrenia, the onset for schizophrenia is early 20s, so somebody could be perfectly fine, normal, thriving and everything. And then they can have a psychotic break, in their 20s. And all of a sudden you got a schizophrenic on your hands. So it's so many layers to what mental illness looks like. So we got to really keep our eyes open.
And
Absolutely.
Janet, I would imagine that's particularly difficult if people don't speak English. For like Latino to speak Spanish
We
in
have
a
a
country that
big
speaks English.
we have a big
Yeah.
need on during this pandemic. I have received so many phone calls and messages from the Latino community about their children's, because they're, it's just the mental health is been affecting a lot of them, and we don't get the resources. We don't have the help. I mean, they don't, a lot of the time, because of their status in United States, they're afraid to cry for help. And at the same time, it's really sad. I mean, I do my best and I try to refer them, and I even make appointments for them, but it's very hard for them.
What about
Not
domestic
only
violence, Janet?
that's a big issue that we have in the community. I just received another message from another female who was beat up, and she's afraid because she said, I don't speak English. I'm not legal in the United States. I'm afraid that something happened. I'm scared that he come back and kill me. So, I mean, you could help them, so much, but at the same time, it's like, if they're not willing to make the report and they're not willing to speak up, there's nothing else that we can do because I'm not the victim. So it is very sad.
What about ICE, Janet? How is ICE treating the Latino community?
Well, you know what? Last week we were driving down Highlandtown, my sister and I, and there was a big truck of ice knocking on a family house, and now we see a female coming out of the window, and she was just talking to them, but there was no door open. And it's been arrests keep on going. They said Baltimore's a sanctuary city, but no, if they have to make an arrest or they have to stay park and arrest anybody, they would do it.
Then one last thing, Janet. Before you came on today, you said there was an incident.
Yes, there's a big issue. The Latino community being targeted, the Highlandtown area, Bayview, and we just lost another Latino father, who was around 36 years old. He was 5 o'clock in the morning. He's getting up to drive his car. He got carjacking. They kill him. Guys steal the car and run him over. Drive
With his
over
own
2 blocks.
car.
This guy,
It was a black teen that did it.
16 years old.
Ran a man over with his own car. I saw that on the news.
Sad.
So, Janet, we just want you to know we love you. You are not alone. The angels and the ancestors protect you.
Thank you, Donnie. We're feeding the homeless on Saturday at 4:30, 4 Central Avenue, 4 Central Avenue at the Mission Rescue. We're gonna set up tables, and they usually go down at 5 o'clock to have dinner. So I'm inviting everybody to come. I'll be taking care of the Spanish Latino food from Puerto Rico, so I need some soul food in there.
What do you need?
We love those macaroni and cheese. There's no food
Damn
without
right.
macaroni and cheese and chicken.
Damn right.
So
Yeah, we put our foot in that. Nicole,
yes.
any final thoughts?
I'm sorry.
Any final thoughts? And thank you for taking time out. Let's plug. Hold up. First of all, if you're trying to reach Janet, this is Janet's information. Janet Arce, mi amigo. And then also, if you're trying to reach Nikki, Nikki's got some information here too. There you go, Nikki. All yours.
Yes. So my final thoughts, I'm really grateful to have this opportunity, not for myself in a selfish way, but to be able to spread this information throughout our community. I'm so passionate about us being, I know that we're resilient, but I'm really passionate about us learning the right ways to gain wealth and not just letting our business be a hustle, because it's more than that. It's our God-given talent, and it should be recognized for what it is. So I'm just grateful to have this platform.
Nikki, I wanted to tell you that we want to help promote your business on Be More News and Black USA. So if you get me a graphic and a link, we will do that part. Also, we need to you make masks, right?
I do. Yep.
There is a new manufacturing plant in the 2100 block of West North Avenue. It is a $3 million facility. It is the home of Made and Be More Clothing. And they want to be the fashion manufacturing center, not only of Baltimore, but of the East Coast. Rashid Aziz is the founder, and I can send you his contact information, but I need some Raven masks.
Okay.
I ain't feeling the Orioles all that much. I ain't think they got any black people on there, but I love the Ravens. Okay.
Well,
All right, CC, any final thoughts?
First of all, you know I will be in serious trouble if I don't say, there you go, I'm Party Marty, let's talk. Tuesday nights at 7, tune in. And Party Marty's Moon Bounces, 410-800-6628, the home of the 165 all-day moon bounce. So call us, let them kids go outside and shake some of this COVID fatigue off and get rid of some of that excess energy. But I just like to say, thank you, Donnie, for giving me the opportunity to join you this morning. And
Thank you for
Janet, I'm going to be in touch. I don't know what my time is going to be like on Saturday, but I will certainly get that information from you. And I know how to cook macaroni and cheese.
okay.
I'm so proud of all of you. Thank you for all that you do to help make our world a better place. We love you and we appreciate you.
Thank you, Donnie.
Thank you,
Good deal.
Donnie.
We'll be
Thank
back at
you.
7 p.m. tonight with Sister Biz. Love you all. Stay blessed. Have a beautiful day,
All right.
everybody.
Love you all. Have a great